nice cars, fast cars, even cars that have batteries can be a ton of fun. But here's the thing. People way too often buy the car of their dreams, only to find out that insurance is going to cost an arm and a leg. And when I help people buy cars, one of the first things I tell them is to check the insurance rates before they even test drive. Because one of the worst things is to have buyer's remorse right after you buy that brand new car for you. And if you're a new driver, I've come up with a list of 4 cars plus an honorable mention that cost a little too much to insure, and the juice just isn't worth the squeeze. It's great to see you guys again. Let's go. Now, I get it. If you're like me, then you like cars that are fun to drive, look good, and are fast. But unfortunately, sports cars like this one are tied to some of the highest auto insurance rates in the nation. And just like a bug to a bright light, young people are naturally attracted to these cars. And the problem is younger drivers are more accident prone, which in turn drives up the insurance rates for all of us. Here, let me give you a little example. Here's a little commuter car with about 150 horsepower. It's nothing special and it gets pretty good gas mileage, but you don't necessarily show up in this car. And then you have this car. It has 3 times the horsepower of the first car. It looks completely badass, it burns a ton of gas, and it will get you anywhere fast. Don't lie to me. Which one would you choose? Because here's the thing, bigger motors have bigger rates. And not only are you more likely to get speeding tickets in the beast, but if you do end up getting in an accident, parts are more expensive. Because a lot of times sports cars are just not as mass produced as regular cars, and so parts, supply and demand costs more to get them. So if you are a new driver and you absolutely have to have a sports car, a couple of the cheapest ones to insure are the BRZ and the one that is always the answer, the Mazda Miata. When looking at new to you cars, one of the first things you need to check is what the original MSRP was. Because for high-end luxury cars, it's usually a lot of money. And don't get me wrong, luxury cars, they ride really nice and they look the part as well. But remember, just because that LS430 that you picked up cost you about $3,000, if you ever have to replace anything, it's still a Lexus, and the prices for the parts don't depreciate the same way that the car does. And even for older cars, they still had state-of-the-art technology for their time. So a lot of times it's a lot more expensive to replace things like the xenon headlights, or if you bend a wheel, and don't even get me started on how much tires cost for bigger wheels. But naturally, everything, especially if the car's a foreign brand, is quite expensive. I think that's why they call it the luxury tax for a luxury car. And that leads us into the ideal question of the day, which is, what car did you take on your driver's test? Or if you haven't taken your driver's test yet, what car do you think you're gonna take it in? And dig into the details a little bit. I wanna know color, horsepower, did you get your first kiss in it? Let me know down in the comments. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Whether you like it or not, electric cars are becoming all the rage now. And one of the things is that they are actually a lot more expensive to insure than ICE or internal combustion engine cars. And they are the future, and they do look good. And every single day, they are getting better and better. And here's the good news. If you are a fan of electric cars, well, the prices are starting to come down, but it is still expensive. Let me give you an example. Here is the Chevy Spark. It's Chevy's little hatchback, and it's a great little commuter car. And you may or may not know this, but Chevy also made this car, the Chevy Spark EV, which does have a gasoline engine, but it also has an electric motor. Now, to the casual observer, you'd think that both of the cars are pretty much the same, but to insurance companies, they are wildly different. See, the Chevy Spark EV costs a lot more to repair. And so if you were to get the EV over the regular Chevy Spark, you're gonna pay hundreds of dollars a year more for the EV. And if you're interested in insane electric car performance, like this Tesla Model 3 Performance, that'll pretty much take on anything on the road, just know your monthly allowance is not gonna pay for the insurance cost on that, because not only is it fast, but it also is fully electric and extremely expensive to repair if and when it gets in an accident. So if you're a first-time driver or a new driver, Teslas, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Oh, and now it's time for the honorable mention. I bet you guys didn't know this, but 1/3 of all your premiums for insurance, what they pay for are thefts. Auto thefts. Yeah, thieves target certain cars because they're either desirable on the used market or they're easy to break into. And a lot of people end up buying cars that are targeted by thieves and they don't even know it because they're some of the most common cars on the road today. In fact, here are the top 5 most stolen cars in the USA. 5th is the Toyota Camry. 4th is the Chevy pickup. 3rd is the Ford pickup. 2nd is the Honda Civic. And 1st is the Honda Accord. Yeah, if you're looking at any of those 5 cars, just know that your insurance premiums may be a little bit higher, not because insurance companies think that you're gonna get tickets or in more accidents with them, but because they think that someone's gonna target it and ultimately steal it. So, buyer beware. Okay, I get it. You're a new driver and you want a car that's just as unique as you. So naturally, you start looking for modified cars that are for sale. And it makes sense. Modified cars just look better. And not only will they help you stick out in a crowd, but some modifications actually help the functionality of the car as well. But buying or modifying a car can have a huge impact on your rates. And if you've invested thousands of dollars into modifications or bought a car with all those modifications already on it and your insurance company doesn't know about them, they're not gonna pay out for it. So if you do get a modified car, you need to work with your agent and make sure that you're covered for everything in case something happens. Otherwise, you can run into a less than ideal situation, which is kind of what happened to these 7 amazing cars that are being killed off for 2020. Or check out what YouTube recommends you watch next. Oh, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. But either way, you can't lose. And as always, keep living that ideal lifestyle.